What's up, dialysis disciples? Got a question for you, right? How many of you have ever felt confused or stressed about food while on dialysis? One week is don't eat this, it's high in potassium or it's high in phosphorus. And then the next week it's like eat this because you need to eat more and get more protein, right? If you're getting mixed messages, right, this live's for you. You're in the right place tonight, right? So if you're here live, let me get a team live in the chat so I can know who's here. And if you're catching it on the replay, let me know so I can show you some love later. If you're watching on YouTube, where we post all the replays from these lives, like, subscribe, and do all that YouTube-y stuff. Also, guys, just FYI, Facebook has instituted a new policy, whereas live videos like these only stay up on Facebook for 30 days. So that's why we upload everything into YouTube. Our YouTube page is called A Gifted Tome Dialysis Disciples. And I put a link in the comments where you can find it. Also on that link is all the ways we help dialysis patients. We help dialysis patients get life insurance because you know that's hard. And we just have a whole lot of resources in there. There's a comfort kit, heated blankets and things like that. So we're serving dialysis patients on every level. So, yeah, let's get into it, guys. So, tonight is hope on a plate. We're breaking down food and learning to use food as fuel, right? Fuel for your God-given purpose, your family, even your legacy, right? We're going to cover 3 new ways of thinking, like new mind shifts, new perspective changes, right? That are going to help you with your energy and your peace and even your confidence while you're on dialysis, right? Who's ready to get into it? Give me some ones in the chat. Who's with us today? Anybody? Okay. I know my replay team got me. So, yeah. So let's get right into it. So, like a lot of us, I want to shift the way you think about food from a few different perspectives. And the first one we're going to talk about is like from making food something you're scared of, like from fear to friend. Your food goes from fear to friend, right? If like so many of us, like we fear food because in the past we've eaten too much of the wrong things, right? Whether it's too salty or too sugary or processed and things that made our lab spiked, right? Or made us feel sick. Who's with me? Who's ever been there, right? Maybe you're still there right now, and that's why you're on the lie, right? So now every bite feels dangerous, right? A lot of us, especially in my community, have grown up on certain types of foods, and these foods have become habits, right? And as one of my business mentors once told me an analogy about habits. So let's say, if there's a little weed growing in your yard, you can just yank it up and get rid of it. That's a small habit. That's maybe you started biting your nails and then you could stop, right? But then you have like with oak trees, you can't just yank an oak tree out, right? Those are our ingrained habits. And that's just like the way we've been eating since we were a kid, right? And our parents, they only fed us what their parents fed them, right? And education around food wasn't the same back then as it is now. So now we get stuck in these bad patterns and in these bad habits, right? Who's with me? Y'all tracking? Right? So then we get put on dialysis, and because of these food choices, now some of us, our kidney disease is chronic and genetic, but some of us have gotten this kidney disease because of these bad health and lifestyle choices, including what we eat and our relationship with food, right? And now you get put on this dialysis machine, and now they're telling you not only are these foods making your condition worse, now that your kidneys aren't working, it could like take you out. Like some of the food choices that you've been eating all your life, now that you're on dialysis and your kidneys don't work, now these choices could take you out, right? So, you know, so now we have to switch that up, right? But no, because of that history, now we are fearful of food. Now every time we pick something up, we have to worry, right? Oh, is this going to spike my potassium? Oh, is this high in phosphorus? Where are my binders? Oh, is this too much calories? Is it too much fluid? Right? So so a lot of us have that fear when it comes to eating, right? But when you hold that fear and you hold that belief, you're missing out on some things in your life, because when you don't change that relationship, right? You because food, right? When you eat right, eat correctly, it gives you the energy to think clear, right? And it gives you energy and the wherewithal, so to speak, to enjoy your family and friends and feel stronger after treatment, right? Those of you who have been on my lives know that we teach that a lot of, not a new dialysis patients don't know this, but what you eat before and after affect how you feel, right? You don't really think about that. That's not something they tell you when you first go to the clinic for your first treatment. They don't tell you about your diet. They just say, watch your phosphorus, watch your potassium, or watch your fluids. But they don't teach you how some protein and some boiled eggs and some nuts and certain things can affect how you feel, right? So when you neglect to make this change in your mind, right, you miss out on the freedom to eat without panic, right? And the hope that comes with feeling nourished and safe, right? So, as I mentioned in previous lives, before dialysis, or maybe sometimes even after out dialysis, I would get maybe I'll stop, get fast food or a big giant breakfast, eat, go to treatment, and wonder why my blood pressure is dropping and why I feel so sluggish, and why when I get off of the machine, I feel like crap, right? And that's all because how you eat and your relationship with food, guys. So, that's something that you have to shift your mindset on, right? You have to shift your mindset, and I'm gonna give you some actionable steps here, right? But you can't go like when you sit down and eat, like your body is an amazing God created machine, right? So like when you sit down to eat, like that's why saying, I know I'm all over the place, bear with me guys, but that's why when you sit down and eat and you say your grace, because now you're going into the process of eating and nourishing yourself with a mindset of gratitude, right? Now, if you go and sit down and eat with the mindset of fear, right, your body's going to digest the food a whole different way, right? Yes, that's how intricately created your body is. That your body will digest your food differently when you eat it from a place of gratitude or you eat it from a place of fear, right? So I'm gonna give you some actionable steps, right, to help change your relationship with food, right? Listen, does the flesh love to sit down with a high calorie, high fat, high carb meal? It does. But as we talked about in previous lives, we're here to feed the spirit. We're not here to feed the flesh, right? So, if you pray to the Father and ask Him to switch your relationship with food, switch that fear into gratitude, He'll do it, right? The Word says, "Whatever you ask for in My name, I will do," right? And that's a whole nother lesson. But if it lines up with His will, and you surviving and eating nourishably, is that a word? Right, lines up with His will. So if you ask Him how to do that, He'll do that for you. All right, so let me give you a few. Who's ready for some actionable steps? Let me get some fires in the chat, and I'm gonna give you just 3 little quick steps that you can start instituting to start changing your relationship with food from fear to fuel, right? Where you can eat something and not worry about, oh my God, what's my labs gonna say, or the doctor's gonna yell at me about my phosphorus, right? right? So first thing I want you to do, I hope you're taking notes, guys, is identify just one safe, nourishing food that you can add confidently to your diet, right? Whether it's boiled eggs, Greek yogurt, right? Cooking in with olive oil, right? Those types of things, right? Just small little changes that'll, send it in the right direction. Now you know that once you start instituting the stuff, when you sit down to eat, you're like, okay, now your mind is not, oh my God, I hope this doesn't raise my numbers too. Okay, I just made one safe, nourishing food choice, and I'm going to enjoy it. So now that's a different mindset when you sit down and eat, and your body will process that differently. Also, another step I want you to take is have one small protein boost after dialysis. So after dialysis, we all know how after dialysis, the flesh is starving, right? Because as I talked about in previous videos, the dialysis is like a mini fast. And we know what mini fasts do. They release the toxins out of your body. And the machine, it releases the toxins out of your body, right? So that mini fast, you get off the machine, now you're craving. You ever notice how when you get off the machine, you're craving bad food, you're craving sweets, or you're craving fatty foods? Come on, I know y'all with me. If y'all with me, give me some ones in the chat. I know some people on here listen who feel that way, because that was me. But this is what I want you to do. What I've learned to do is when I get off the machine, I have a protein bar and maybe some protein chips, right? And some water, right? That I can put in my body after dialysis so my body can start feeling right. Okay? And I know your flesh is going to be calling you to eat something different, but this is just, I'm giving you some actionable steps, guys. Because once you start instituting these things, your mind is going to start relating differently with food, right? And it won't be a fear thing, it'll be a fuel thing, right? And this is something I want you to do too. Write down one question you can ask your dietitian, right? You can tell them that you're on this live and ask your dietitian, like, can you give me something I can eat that will replace when I sit down and eat? I'm not fearful of it. It's something that's fuel for me. Oh, and dietitians love when they get questions like that, right? So now you're taking advantage of the doctors and the dietitians because, as I keep saying this, but as I mentioned in previous videos, if you want to watch them, go on YouTube. Doctors and dietitians and all of them, they can tell you what to do, right? But you need someone like me, right, who can tell you how to transform your dialysis journey, not just more information. Over here, we emphasize transformation over simply information, right? So I got a question for y'all. How many of you ever felt like one wrong bite of something could hurt you, right? But what if food could be safe and actually help you recover? Right? I promise if you learn to swap fear foods with safe fuels, right, and add a little extra quality nutrition, you'll notice your steadier energy and your mental fog, right? You'll have more stable energy after treatment. Your focus will be sharper. And you'll be like, yeah, I get it now. I see what he was talking about. This is not something the doctor are going to tell you, right? Check it out. Even your mood is going to be better, right? Like I talked about last live, I had one client who was always snapping at her husband after dialysis. He would just say what's wrong, and she'd snap. I'm nothing wrong with dialysis, like that. But she had no idea that was based on the types of foods that she was ingesting after treatment, right? And you're going to have more confidence. You're going to have more confidence when you sit down and eat about what's happening to your body, right? Come on, guys. Is that helpful? Give me some fires in the chat if that was helpful. All right, so now some of us are on the exact other side of the spectrum, right? Because the doctors have you scared half to death about, about what we eat and that we only eat like by the rules, right? And some of us really have no enjoyment or no meaning when we dine, right? But we're gonna see how to flip it. All right, who's ready for another mindset shift? I'm gonna give you a new way to thinking about food, right? Put a 2 in the chat, right? If you're ready to hear this, right? So we're gonna go from rules to purpose. So instead of eating because the rules say, the dialysis rules say, right, we're going to eat, we're going to eat from purpose. Now, what does that mean, right? So, in Ecclesiastes 9:7, it tells us, eat thy bread with joy and drink thy wine with a merry heart, right? So God put food on here on earth for us to enjoy, right? If you're just eating strictly, if every decision you make is just the opposite of what we talked about, right? And yeah, you're compliant, but you're super compliant, and you never enjoy food. You're not living the way God intended for you, right? And like you can be missing out at just having peace at the table and joy and fellowship with your family, right? You're missing out on sustainable routines, right? And the motivation that comes from knowing why you're eating, right? To fuel your calling and to show up strong for people you love, right? So what does that all mean? Let me give you an example. So like I remember so I would go to the dialysis, right? And then the doc would say your phosphorus is high or whatever, right? And I've gotten a lot better. My labs are pristine now. But when the doctor would say something like your phosphorus is high, I'm like, oh my goodness. Like if my wife would ever make a lasagna or something like that, I wouldn't even touch it, right? And if you let the doctors tell it, that's the right thing to do. But I'm telling you guys, you can enjoy those types of food, right, here and there. Now, like if it's something that it's a special occasion, and you wanna enjoy or indulge or something like that, you can, guys, right? It's not something that you're gonna do all the time, but you can't live your life on a strict diet. Who's with me? Who's with me? Right? Like sometimes rules, it makes you feel empty, right? And you can never, just like in the when we talked about a few minutes ago, how when we sit down and we eat, your mind and your body are connected, right? So just like if you sit down and eat from fear, how your body would digest that. If you sit down and eat like a drone, I'm like my numbers are high, I'm eat rice cakes and water, your body's gonna notice that too. Right? So put that verse in your back pocket, guys. Ecclesiastes 9:7. Eat thy bread with joy and drink thy wine with a merry heart. So, explore foods. God put so much stuff on this earth for us, right? Explore foods that are healthy and you enjoy them. I promise you that they're out there. But again, we eat with habit. So much of what we eat is habit fueled, right? And we may think we don't enjoy something because something we're not used to eating, right? So I guarantee there's at least one or two things that if you try it and eat it and like it and it's healthy, you'll be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm eating this and it's healthy. For me, that was eggplant, right? Yeah, eggplant's a little high in potassium, right? But it's healthy, it's good, right? And that's something else I want you guys to know. Like the doctors, they're talking to you from a whole different perspective, right? The doctors, they go to school and they're here to help us, of course, right? But they're talking to you from a doctor's perspective, right? They don't sit in that chair with you, right? They don't experience the things you experience, right? So while we want to listen to the doctors, right? I'm not here to say don't listen to the doctors, but you got to listen to your body first and foremost, right? Like for instance, they say avoid potassium, but did you know that potassium is energy? Did you know that a lot of times when you feel like exhausted from dialysis, it's because you're avoiding potassium? Now, people with healthy kidneys, they'll eat a banana, they'll drink orange juice in the morning, things we're told to avoid. You know why? Because it's full of potassium. and they eat it and drink it in the morning because it gives you energy for the day, right? So it's up to you to know your labs and know your body, right? If you can withstand a banana or orange juice, right? You know your numbers. If your potassium's in the low fours, right? And you got a busy day, right? And listen, disclaimer, I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice, right? But eat a banana. Drink a cup of orange juice, guys, if that's what you need to get energy. Don't go overboard and know your numbers, right? Who's with me, right? Again, the doctors are going to teach you what they've been taught to teach you, right? But remember, the doctors and the dietitians, they work for you, right? We're not beholden to them, right? You have to know your body. You have to study some stuff. You have to come to these lives and talk to people like me and get educated on some things, right? Someone who's lived this journey for 25 years plus, right? And can walk you through the things that I've learned, so you don't have to learn the hard way, right? Is all this making sense, right? I know some of you might be like, yeah, I don't know, I ain't hungry, should I skip it? That's probably not the right thing to do either, right? Your body needs fuel. Some of you I've talked to say, I don't really enjoy food anymore. And that's because you don't allow yourself to eat nothing. You haven't explored foods that you can find that are really good and healthy, right? Also, like peanuts. Yeah, they're high in some of the stuff we can't have, but they give you energy, right? And they have good nourishing potential, right? And then, some of you are like, I'm scared that I'll do it wrong. Like I'm listening to Troy tell me I can eat a banana in the morning, but I'm scared. I might do it wrong. It might not work for me. And I get it, right? So I got some actionable steps for you. Come on, guys, you're here for value, right? And I'm going to bless you with value, right? I don't want you to leave this training like you wasted your time. I hope you guys are taking notes. All right. So here's something you could do. Every meal, like just every meal, whatever you eat, and just pair it with some fruit or some protein. Like what I like to do is in the morning before I eat breakfast, whatever it is, and maybe even one morning I'm eating pancakes and and links or something, right? Like I'll make sure I eat some fruit in there just to square it out, even it out, right? Or I'll eat a protein bar afterwards, right? Make sure you add protein is very important. I know at my dialysis unit, they offer protein bars, right? I personally don't partake in those protein bars because I have some better ones. In the link I put in the comments, click it. We have supplements and special healthy products for dialysis patients, and in there are the protein bars that I consume, right? This energy drink right here, little potassium, right? But it's healthy. It's no sugar and no carbs, right? If you want to purchase this, I have that in the link too, right? Like, as I mentioned in other lives, God has called me to help you guys. So whatever way I feel like I help, I'll offer it to you, right? Because, I call myself the Moses for dialysis patients, right? I'm already healed, but I'm here walking with you guys. Come on now. And fires in the chat, right? So at least one meal a day. Eat fruit before you swallow it all, no matter what it is, or a protein bar after. At least one meal a day, okay? And here is something I know some of you don't want to do, right? But 5-10 minutes of gentle movement. Sit down, Indian style, bend over, move around, cross your legs, stretch, go for a walk, right? Because that'll help you digest your food. And like we talked about, your mind and your soul and your body is all connected, right? So when the food goes in, your mind has to be right so the food processes properly. You can't have fear or guilt or shame or any of them negative emotions and then put food in your body because your body won't process it right. Who's with me? I know y'all tracking, right? Also, ask your spouse or a good friend or your mom or whatever to walk the path with you, right? I saw some videos where there's someone with cancer and they're sitting down to get their head shaved because cancer does whatever we know does what it does to your hair, the chemo. And as they're sitting down and start shaving their head, the person shaving it in the mirror shaves theirs, right? And then that's a touching moment. So your loved ones are want to support you in any way they can. Like, I guarantee your loved ones inside really want to find a way to help and support you, but don't know how, right? Here's the way they can: eat with you, eat the same stuff you eat together. It's accountability, right? And remember, we're not eating, right, from rules. We're eating for purpose, right? We're following Ecclesiastes 9:7. We're enjoying our meals. We're fueling our purpose. And how do we do that? We make sure that our mind and our soul and our energy is in the right place when we take the food in. You're learning today that whenever you eat from a negative place, your body processes that food a different way. Like we said, that's the importance of saying grace, because it puts your mind in a gratitude and a thankful place. So when the food goes in, it's processed from that perspective. Who's with me? Y'all with me? Come on, guys. This is some good stuff for y'all. Okay? So, those are some actionable steps. Question for you. How many of you feel like you're just checking boxes when you eat, but you still feel tired, right? What if every bite helped you feel stronger so you could show up for your future, right? I promise, if you ask yourself that question, do what I told you to do, right? Pair a protein bar, eat with purpose, right? You have fewer crashes. You'll feel better. You have steadier days, and you'll be more present with the people who need you, right? You'll have more consistent energy, a clearer head, right? You know what I mean? You'll make better choices, right? You'll have a closer connection with your loved ones if they support you, if they want to eat with you. All right. So as we move on, right, we also have to remember that once food is about purpose, right, there's one more mindset shift that changes everything, right? Moving from just surviving to building spiritual strength, right? And this right here is what I'm really excited to talk to you about tonight, guys, because we know that everything that we do and say and talk about on this channel is faith-based and leads directly to purpose, right? What has God called us here for? We are always asking the question of why I'm on dialysis, and what's my why, right? And some of us are just getting by with no bigger why and no purpose, right? And that makes them feel empty, and that's why hope fades, right? And here's how food relates to that. So food supports the body so you can serve God fully, right? We know from 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20, right? Your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, right? When it's nurtured, you have energy to pray and worship and read scripture and serve your family and carry out the work that God gives you, right? And Jesus himself acknowledges this connection. Remember, after fasting, angels came and ministered to him, Matthew 4:11. You know, many biblical scholars see that as restoration and nourishment for before continuing on his ministry. One of my favorite things to do is dine with my family. My mother's in town, and she's, I guess that's where I got it from, because there's been a couple times she took my wife and I out to eat, because, we love the coming together and breaking bread and sharing fellowship, right? In Acts 2:46, the early believers, it said they did eat their meat with gladness and singleness of heart, right? So meals weren't just calories. Like, they knitted the early church together and ate and encouraged spiritual unity, right? And like when you eat with your family and your fellow believers, it strengthens bonds and provides space for encouragement and prayer and teaching. Like in the early days, right, before you did any type of business partnership, you would go to someone's house for dinner and meet their family and see what kind of characters and things you share before you signed any contract or did any type of business together. So breaking bread and eating is key, guys. And as we know, we have to eat from a positive place, right? And dining with your family is a positive place, right? And, and like we talked about with saying your grace, right? Grateful eating is worship, right? You know God provided, right? So if you're grateful for it and then you ingest it, that could be a form of worship, right? 1 Timothy 4:4 and 5 says, "For every creature of God is good and nothing to be refused if it be received with thanksgiving, for it is sanctified by the word of God and prayer." So what does that mean? That means say your grace, be thankful, and dig in. Because again, I said it 1,000 times, your body accepts the food differently when you're in a good state of mind versus the bad state of mind, right? Stopping to thank God for what you eat turns a simple act into worship and keeps your heart oriented towards him, right? What else we got? So balanced nutrition, it protects your focus. Who's with me? Give me some fires in the chat. Come on, guys, y'all quiet, right? Balanced nutrition and balanced nourishment, it protects your focus, right? So low energy, irritability, brain fog, comes from poor nutrition. And it can make prayer and spiritual disciplines harder, right? Just think about it. If you eat a fruit cup, drink some water, and exercise versus a Big Mac, a donut, and some Kool-Aid, which one's going to be easier to pray after? Seriously, think about it, right? Eating well, whole foods, protein, hydration. It steadies your mind and emotions so you can meditate, serve, and study the word with more clarity. I know y'all tracking, guys. Come on now. You just needed somebody to say it out loud for you, right? Also, food is a picture of God's provision, right? Jesus called himself the bread of life, right? He also called himself living water. Y'all with me? So like physical foods point to spiritual nourishment. Think about it. This is your body, just like your body needs food daily, your soul needs his word and his presence. Come on, guys. This is a faith-based channel. I know y'all picking up what I'm putting down. When you recognize that connection, it can make each meal a reminder to feed your spirit. So when you sit down and eat some food, okay, I just fed my body. Now I got to feed my spirit, right? So let me ask you this. Like, what are you missing out by not doing these things, right? You're missing the fire that comes from knowing you have a future. Like you're missing joy in the small amounts, right? And the pride of fighting for your legacy. Like God, family, health, growth, service, impact, legacy, right? Come on, guys. All right, I'm got some more value for y'all. So some more actionable steps, some more things for y'all to do. Like I give y'all a lot of homework. Hope y'all took notes this live, right? Have a 10-second prayer before each meal, right? Lord, thank you for this food. Use it to strengthen me for the work you have for me. That's simple, right? Now your eating is an act of worship, right? Have one joy food each week. You actually enjoy that fits in your plan, like even without guilt, right? Even if you got some calories, have something that you enjoy. And as you keep testing and finding the stuff that you enjoy and healthy, you'll be able to eat without guilt, right? Speak a scripture over your meal. Talk maybe John 21. I'm going to talk about that story a little later. You don't know what John 21 is? I'm going to talk about it, right? And journal, right? Journal one win after eating with gratitude. Even if you journal it down, just ask God. Even after you eat, after lunch, thank you, Father, for this meal. It gave me the energy to, I don't know, ride my bike or call my granddaughter, right? So let me ask you this. How many of you ever noticed that when you eat in stress and fear, it drains you? You ever noticed this? But you will after we talk about it, right? But when you eat with gratitude, it steadies you. Think about how your mind works and what we talked about of what you eat and when you eat it and the mindset you have when you're eating it, how that affects you, right? And I promise when you start eating with gratitude and worship, even just one meal, like food will start feeling like a curse and it'll start feeling like communion, right? God equipping you for your next step, right? You'll have peace at meal times, right? You'll have a sense of God's presence Come on, guys. We need renewed hope and motivation to keep going, and stronger connection to your purpose, right? All right. So I mentioned John 21. In John 21, this is after Jesus was crucified, came back, right? His disciples went fishing, and they didn't know what's going on, right? Jesus left, he died. Like, what we gonna do now? So they went fishing, right? And they unsure their future. But you got to read it. It's a lot more to the story. But basically, when they came off the sea, you know, cook them. They weren't catching any fish. Jesus told them to cast a net on the other side. Y'all heard their story. And they got a whole bunch of fish. And then when they came, right, to shore, Jesus was cooking, had bread, and they ate fish, and they dined together, right? Right? So before they had to go, live their mission, Jesus said, "Do you love me? Yes, feed my sheep. Do you love me? Yes, feed my sheep." Right? So he fed them before he sent them out on their mission. Right? And that's what you guys are going to be called to do. Right? So when I get to the end, right, I'm going to have some things that I'm going to ask you guys to do, or I'm going to make opportunity available to you, right? And when we do that, you're going to have a chance to learn how you can institute everything we talked about today, with my help. Okay. All right. Who got value tonight? Some values in the chat. Value, VALUE in the chat. You got value from tonight's lesson. All right. So let's recap. 3 new ways to think about food. 1, from fear to friend. Stop letting food scare you. Use it for fuel for your life. Number 2, from rules to purpose. Go beyond restriction. Tie eating to your why, right? Be in a good mind state when you consume so your body can process it the right way, right? And then from survival to spiritual strength, right? Make meals a moment of worship and hope, right? Food isn't punishment. It's hope on a plate. Come on, guys. So you can love your family, honor your health, and keep growing, serving others, creating impact, and build your legacy. Let's go, guys. This was a good one tonight. I feel good about putting this down for you guys. All right, so last question. I know I've been asking you a lot of questions, some thought-provoking stuff tonight, right? But how many of you are done? You watched this live, you're done with the fear of food, right? And ready for some simple, personal plan that helps you feel strong, clear, and hopeful, right? That's what I do, right? What I do for my clients is the gold standard in the industry, right? I help my clients go from just merely surviving to thriving on dialysis. And one of the ways we do that is building and switching our relationship with food, right? And we reframe food, right? And the way we do that and the results of that are more energy and clarity, and it helps you to know your purpose and hear God clearer when you get all that crap out of your brain, right? Right? So if you want that, if you want some coaching or some help through your dialysis journey with food and everything else to get energy, DM coach or comment coach right now, right? And I'll reach out. I'll listen to your story. It's free of charge, right? And give you a step-by-step plan that fits your life. Not some cookie cutter thing from some book. Not the doctor saying, watch your phosphorus, right? We'll map out something just for you, right? And I promise, you'll go for, if food freedom is what you need, then food freedom is what you get, right? If energy is what you need, strength from the Father is what you'll get, right? And you'll learn all the stuff it took me 25 years to learn, right? So let's get on the phone, guys. Comment coach, and let's talk about what's holding you back, right? You personally, right? God put me on this planet. He showed me my purpose is to help you. I'm the author of a gifted tome, the 40-Day Spiritual Fast for Dialysis Patients. And after I wrote the book and did the 40-day spiritual fast, God revealed to me on day 39 that my assignment and my purpose is to help dialysis patients. That's why I'm here today, right? And another thing we'll do is we'll do the fast together. We'll walk through the fast. And if you don't know your purpose, you'll know it, right? So comment coach, DM coach, and we'll get together and we'll talk about it, guys. So tonight, this was Hope on a Plate. Put some values in the chat if you got any value from this, guys. And I look forward to hear from you guys. I look forward to working with some of you. And yeah, stay strong, dialysis disciples. And I'll see you next time. Stay strong, guys.